And some of us want to be dictators. We don't want any reign on our power. We would rather be the one to make all the decisions and force them on others that are under our authority. So that means that some of us want to be kings. So any structure that is set up to bridle the power of any office, if that office does not agree with us, there's a spirit to destroy it. So President Trump is literally destroying the republic that the founding fathers wanted to guide and gird it against what they suffered in Europe from kings. This president has seemed, as the fake news group like to call him, he's a man that is unbridled. So they say he's unpresidential. So clashing is going on among those who are responsible for government. And this is happening in all organizations. You vote somebody in, and then they want to exceed the limits of what they are to function as. So you destroy organization. And then you run into something that tells you, I am unqualified to dictate. Then people start rising up against somebody who doesn't know their lane. Want to run in everybody else's lane. The nation is going to survive. I don't care what happens, the nation is going to survive. Because God has taken the point that if this is His, we function according to His will, or He allows things to come up that will curtail us. This is a tough time for tyrants. It's a tough time for dictators. It's a tough time for religious personages who have held sway, and they think that that is forever. Only God is forever. And when he gave us Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad understood his mortality. If you don't understand your mortality, you are not preparing for a time when your mortality will be ended. Since we all die, none of us are here forever. Well, what about eternal life? That's what we were promised. I want to say something to you, beloved brother and sister. Some of our people have lived long enough to be tired of living. Have you seen people in your family that have weathered many storms, and one day you go to their bedside and they tell you, I'm tired? And they really want to rest from their labor, but now you want to keep them here, because in our love and illness, we want to hold on to things when their time has come. So Jesus said, it is expedient for you that I go away. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote that I die. Well, when you get a messenger of God, you don't want to see him go. But this Quran that we read says Muhammad is but a messenger. Indeed, messengers have passed away before him. So if Muhammad dies or is killed, would you turn back on your heels? See, when you're an idolater, you want to negate aspects of time. When you're an idolater, you don't want your idol to go. That's tough. But if you're a wise person, you accept the will of God, who is master of the law of life and time. So the God of life and the God of time says to Muhammad the prophet, look, you have been given a book and you have obeyed this book. And that book, Quran, made Muhammad the greatest of all men according to the people that wrote and rated all the great men of the world. and Muhammad the prophet was number one. Why was he number one? Because of the work that he did while he was among us and the effect that that work had on human existence. Though he only lived 62 and a half years. But when it was time for him to go, Ali and Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman, they couldn't keep him here. If it was time for him to go, then maturity says, thank you, Allah, for such a life. What is the value of that life? That value of that life is that he taught us how to live. The value of that life is that he put in us the love of Allah, the ever-living. The value of that life is that he taught us the way to live the life that God gave us. So if you are a reader and a student of the Quran and the life of Muhammad, peace be upon him, then you can take his absence. Because he told you how to handle his absence. If you're a Christian, look, Jesus was 36 years according to Master Fard Muhammad, but according to the theologians, he only lived 33 years. But in those 33 years, he laid something down that death could not defeat. Are you all right? I got a book full of notes. I haven't touched them. My poor research team, they get it all the time. They do all this hard work and they give me all the research that I asked them to give me. Now they've gotten in the habit of knowing. Well, maybe he will, maybe he won't. But it's all here. But you gave me my subject as you were talking about me before I came to the rostrum. Because you gave me something that I had to clear up so that you will not fall into idolatry. He told me to adjust my fez, it's rising up. The knowledge that's under it. The wisdom is designed to make us rise up. So, I want to start by saying to my teacher, I'm not as much as a filthy worm. What? How could you say something like that? I heard my teacher Elijah Muhammad say that of himself in comparison to Master Fard Muhammad. Well, Jesus is a great man. Yeah, that's true. But he's not to be worshipped. And that's a mistake that the people made about Jesus. Instead of following him, they didn't feel like really righteous people unless they exalted him to a position that he could not handle. See, and when people do that, they mean good, because they learned something that he dropped on them, and it hasn't fired up their spirit, but it should have fired up your spirit to walk the path that my teacher put me on, that made me and is making me the man that I'm becoming. But I am a becoming person. God is not becoming, he is. Now, look. So in case the ignorant among us are looking for somebody to worship, please don't stop at imperfection. But Farrakhan, I thought you was perfect. Oh, that's a sign of how blind you are. See, no, I'm perfect enough for you. But look at the words of Jesus. I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, you may be also. What does that mean? Now, if a man tell you, I'm going someplace, and I'm going to prepare a place for you, you should tell him, hurry. First, you got to ask him, where you going? Gee, none of this is written, you know. This is what the God has me saying to comfort us. Now, where I am, see, God is not satisfied with us as we are. So he sends a prophet or a messenger with a scripture so that you can rise above the condition that the enemy has put us in, so that we can function on a higher level of civilization. So Jesus was moved. Always they talk about him in terms of mountains. That's big. And he went up on the mountain. What you going up there for? He got messages sometimes. Sometimes you have to get up from where you are and seek a higher ground so you can concentrate on what God wants you to do. Jesus wanted us to walk after him. So on the way, you know, Satan is always accompanying. I never understood that the devil talked to Jesus and said, I want to show you something. And Jesus, oh yeah? Let me walk with you. And you would think that Jesus, being who he is and was, wouldn't walk with Satan. But if God allowed Satan to exist, there's something that humanity has to learn about Satan, because Satan is a part of your very being. I mean, you say in your prayers, "Qul a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim." I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. Why do you say that in the quiet of your room? Is Satan somewhere close by? See, when you pray, you are praying a righteous prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Okay, good. But Satan is traveling right with you as you say your prayers. Especially when it says, give us this day our daily bread. You say, wait a minute now. I can't make ends meet. And every time you can't make ends meet, something comes up to help you get your ends. So the Quran says, soon you will know the ends for which men strive. Because God will give you what you strive for. The question, what are you striving for? And if you look at us, most of us have vain imaginations. I'm going to be the greatest this. I'm going to be the baddest that ever did this. I'm going to do that. But Jesus wanted us to walk with him so that where he was, we could be where he is. Now, is not necessarily a place. Oh yeah, Jesus, he's on the mountain, so I got to find a mountain, climbs and see if I can find He's on such an elevated place with God in knowledge. He wants us to come on up. That where he is, he wants to share what got him there with you so we all can be together. So the Bible says, we don't know what we will be like, but we will be changed. And in the twinkling of an eye, we'll be like him. So if you're going to be like Jesus, then you'll be walking on the plane of knowledge and civilization that God led him to. Now, wait a minute. God is accessible. He wants his servants to access where he is. Even the fly wants something. He wants to bring us up in knowledge. You know, God is full of promises. You read the scriptures, Bible, Quran, he promises us a lot of things. And when you come to faith, you think about what God promised you. Can you imagine living in the desert of Arabia and God promising you gardens wherein rivers flow, where there ain't no water at all? Hell, if I was living in the desert, I would welcome such a promise. God is not lying. But you can't see with your eye the physical manifestation of trees and gardens and rivers. But he's going to give man the knowledge of how to bring water up out of the desert, how to plant gardens in the desert. We just left Mecca and Medina and Riyadh, and we saw a lot of desert. And we were going through the desert, I thought of Noah. Poor fella. God told him, build this ark. Why you want me to build an ark on land that's don't know water? Well, what an ark is a ship like. Can you imagine how the people laughed at Noah? That nut. He making a boat in the desert and wants me to join him in such a foolish endeavor. Surely Noah is a madman. All the prophets were considered crazy because they saw what their contemporaries could not see. It didn't mean it was unreal. It just hadn't come into existence yet. But their faith would cause them to bring into existence the promise of God. All right, now why did I go there? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad promised me something. I told you all in, I think it was 85, that I met with God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I mean. On the wheel. And I told you what he instructed me to do. He told me what Reagan was doing, about to do, and told me to tell the people. And he told me, say, you got it from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. I did exactly what I was instructed to do. From this very rostrum, in 1972, 47 years ago, in this very month of July, Elijah Muhammad was delivering a part of the lecture series called The Time, the Theology of Time. I was sitting over here in the back, and I bore witness to him, and he heard my voice. He said, oh, I hear my minister. He said, brother, come down and sit in the front. I thought he meant where Sultan is sitting, or the brothers there. And they got up and moved some of the ministers to give me a seat. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad looked back and said, no. Now wait, man. He pointed to his seat. And in front of a congregation of the believing community of the nation, he anointed me to sit in his seat. Wait now. But some that heard it didn't like it. We said we love him, but we didn't love his choice. So when I came and sat down there, I felt the daggers. Whew. My brothers in the ministry were envious of their brother.
Wow. Wow. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters, in the greeting words of peace. We say it in the ancient tongue of Arabic, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, 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 dear beloved family, friends, and all of you who are regular listeners and watchers and tuner-inners of the Imagination Show. Welcome. My name is Brother Leo Muhammad, and sitting alongside me is my beloved wife and best friend, Sister Claudia Muhammad.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. I pray that you're all safe and well. I must admit, I said, I don't know how much longer I can stay in this England. It's so cloudy. The day looks like night. It's very, very depressing. I was speaking to a sister today. I said, what would we do if we didn't have Allah and the teachings in our life? I don't know. I just don't know how people cope. You're just dead.
Yes.
There's no life. And I said, this weather, it's not very pleasant, but
Yeah.
at least we have the teachings to keep us going. So praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. But yes, how is everyone? Where are you around the planet Earth? How is life treating you?
That's right. Let us know, dear family. Let us know where you are,
That's
where
right.
you are currently viewing the imagination from. Let us know. And also let a family member know, let a loved one, a friend, you know, a relative, somebody that you care about. Let them know that the Imagination Show is live and direct right now on Zoom and also on YouTube. And as always, dear family, it is a tremendous pleasure and honor to have an opportunity to come to you to stand on the foundation of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, looking at contemporary issues and subject matters, looking at history, looking at the reality of this life and how you and I can do better, how you and I can grow, how we can self-improve, and how we can ultimately triumph in a world like this. And we don't want to pretend that the instruments of this world can necessarily elevate us or do those things for us. We have to go to the root and to the reality of how the man and the woman in a world like this is to be truly elevated. And so, dear family, here we are. And we have a subject this evening that we want to get right into.
Okay, before you go into
Yeah,
that, is that
go ahead.
Is that B.A. Daniel? Yes, I totally agree with you that the sun is our blessing, not the cold. No, not the cold.
Absolutely.
It just changes your whole spirit.
Absolutely.
You have to fight. It's a fight.
It is. It is. And again, you know, for some of our people are blessed to be in the sun right now, but in truth, you know, it's not necessarily widely known, but when, as a Black person, we are in this northern hemisphere, in the cold and in the damp, it absolutely wreaks havoc with our constitution, with who we are by nature. It is not really a natural environment for us, and we do suffer. We do suffer. So, you know, that sun is absolutely crucial to our health and our well-being. And as much as we can get, you know, the vitamin D, we need to absolutely get as much of it as we possibly can, because there are so many nutrients in those rays that energizes the original people, energizes Black people, that we need it if we're going to be able to function at an optimal level.
That's right.
Dear family,
hold on.
Go ahead.
Also, just to say, walaikum salam to Colonel Singh. Greetings to Annabelle Ras Trill. Also, assalamu alaikum to William Muhammad and your family. Walaikum salam to 8th Electronics. Also, our regular Ismail Cisse, assalamu alaikum to you.
Is that our brother from Sweden?
Yes, yes.
Praise be to
Greetings
Allah.
to Clover Dragon. Also,
yeah, we haven't seen Clover Dragon for a little while.
Unless they might have been on, unless they don't make a comment, we wouldn't know.
Okay.
Greetings to Linda Johnson. Greetings to Lenora Shepherd. Assalamu alaikum, Gabrielle, Sister Gabrielle Mohammed. Greetings, Johnny Mitchell, on deck as usual. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Blessed Amika. Am I saying that right? Please forgive me if I'm not. Greetings to you. Greetings to you, Brother Ronald Thompson from Birmingham. You know what we mean,
That's
Brother
right.
Ronald. You
England.
know how it is.
England,
Depression.
Birmingham. That's right. That's right.
And greetings to R.A. Daniel, Adrian Fraser. Greetings to you and your family from Louisville, Kentucky. Beautiful. And what's that? Landosas. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Greetings to you.
Landosas, greetings, nation of gods.
Mia Marchell in New Jersey. Greetings to you. And who's that? I only listen to the truth of God. Walaikum salam to you also. Can you see?
No, I'm looking at what Clover Dragon wrote. He said, not gonna lie, I'm more of a cold weather person. When the sun beams, it's too much for me. That shouldn't be the case, but I just can't take the heat. It sort of remember our daughter, Johnny, when she was younger. She never really liked the sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I guess
everyone has their
everybody, exactly. You know, some people can handle that. If you appreciate that, for instance, the first man to reach the North Pole was a brother by the name of Matthew Henson. Think about that. You know what I mean? So it's a black man.
Yes.
And so it's not that and he spoke Eskimo. That's how comfortable he was in that type of environment, because he basically lived among the people. So go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say, it's so bad here that normally I take our son training and I have to plan it. If I know the weather's not going to be nice, I'll take him. If I know it's going to be sunny, I'll stay on our little terrace out there and sunbathe, because you just don't get the sun.
That's right. That's right.
But thank you for the living son, Minister Louis Farrakhan. Absolutely. Wherever you are on the planet, just feed on the word and keep going. Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. So, dear family, welcome to episode 140 of the Image and Nation show. Today is Thursday, July the 25th, 2024. The time is running and passing and running, as we say in our Jamaican parlance. Time I run and pass. Dear family, tonight's episode, the title is Our History and Now. Our History and Now, Cause and Effect. Our history, then, and now, cause and effect. Because essentially that's what it's all about. And I do hope, brothers and sisters, that you were, those of you who were tuned in, that you were listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the beginning of the show. And I hope those who come in late or those who see this at a later stage, please, please, please look at and listen to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was saying, because what he was saying is an essential ingredient, an essential part to what it is that we desire to share with you this evening. Because, you know, brothers and sisters, our history and now, cause and effect, is something that we really need to understand if we are ultimately to be a successful people. If we don't understand history and where we've been, we really can't appreciate where we are and ultimately where we're going. And so back in the day, Bill Cosby starred alongside his white partner, Robert Culp, in the hit TV series I Spy. I wonder how many of you can remember I Spy. You never heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it was one of, you know, it was one of these programs that as a young boy, I used to love watching it because there was a black man in it, you know what I mean? And he was like really the equal of his white partner. They were, you know, a couple of like spies, and they were, you know, dynamic and it was fast moving, and they did a lot of, it was action packed, and it was this brother, you know, at the time, obviously I didn't really know a great deal about our brother Bill Cosby. Later on, with the Cosby Show and all of these things, then I got to know him a little bit better. But the program was called, TV series was called I Spy. But at the same time, this Bill Cosby, he was one of our black entertainers who was black conscious. And he was also fearless enough to speak out about the inequality and racial oppression plaguing American society and other parts of the Western world. But understand this, the enemy never forgot or forgave who he was. You see, that one of the things I really want us to appreciate about then and now is that for those of us who, you know, it was very sad. I was looking at Al Sharpton on the TV just recently. Yeah, you know, and I remember that brother when he came over here and we were taking care of him, securing him, and he came to take part in a demonstration because a young brother had been murdered in East London. And you know, at that time, I really, you know, felt this brother's energy. He was he was quite chubby. He was, I'll use that terminology. Al Sharpton was very big at that time in terms of his weight, but he was very conscious, and you know, he seemed to me like a real fighter on behalf of our people. But I was just looking at him the other day on Fox News, and you know, it made me sad because you see, then and now, it's a complete transformation, but not a transformation in terms of developing his activism and his politics and his consciousness that it would benefit our people. But it seems more like he has determined or decided to join the system and to be a part of that whole system, as opposed to, you know, where he stood before. And of course, I appreciate that not everybody has got that kind of strength to be able to maintain, you know, a stance like
it's a lifetime.
Right. It's you know, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, nearly 70 years, you see. But this is what I really want us to appreciate, that then and now we have to try to maintain our course, because the enemy doesn't forget. The enemy didn't forget the fact that our brother Bill Cosby was who he was. And so at a certain point, you see, they went after him. And, you know, the man was convicted of sexual abuse and all kinds of stuff. And ultimately, that case was overturned. And they had to release him because it came out that really it was a trumped up charge, you see. But they had to get Bill Cosby. But did Bill Cosby realize that? Did he realize when he was making all of that money and having, you know, enough money to contemplate buying TV stations in America and all of that kind of stuff, did he appreciate that the enemy wasn't about to forget what he manifested? You see? And it was like, I remember the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying one time how basically he had to sort of warn Jesse Jackson, you know, that because again, he seems like one of these who tries to go along to get along with the system. But the minister told him, I believe on one occasion, brother, you got too much black in you. You see, you know, and the enemy knows when somebody's got too much black in them for them to just leave them to manifest what God has put on their hearts or in their minds to manifest. And so, dear family, I wanted us to think about some of the things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was saying, because today, what I want us to do really is a little bit different, not much, but a little bit different in terms of how I want us to approach. Go ahead.
Can I just ask, so was that a positive program that Bill Cosby was on?
What, I Spy?
Yes.
No, it was just a run-of-the-mill kind of detective spy type of, but it was unusual in those days to see a black man giving that sort of equal billing next to a white man who was the star of the show. They were both the stars of it, and they were both spies for the American government, you know. And it was an action series, and it was just good to see. But at the same time that he was an actor playing that role in his own right as an individual, he was a black activist, and you could see him. I didn't see him at the time, but it was only later, as I grew up, I came to realize that this man was like Muhammad Ali. He was a boxer, but he was also an activist, speaking into the reality of black people. Well, Bill Cosby was like that when he was a young actor. You'll see in a second anyway. You'll see what he was the type of thing that he was doing, because that's very much part of what we want to look at today. And so today on the Imagination show entitled Our History and Now, Cause and Effect, we want to attempt to deal with the solution first. That's what we want to look at first, the solution first, before looking at the cause of the problem. Unfortunately, some of us, as I said a minute ago, may have missed it when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was just speaking. But the solution to what has been done to us historically is to be found in our personal relationship with Almighty God Allah, and whether we can rise above the low-down level of envy and jealousy against each other that we've been miseducated and conditioned into. This is the ultimate solution, dear beloved brothers and sisters, to our problem that we currently suffer from. The ultimate solution is that we've got to recognize our God self. Yeah. We've got to be able to see the God in our brother, the God in our sister. We've got to rise above this envy and jealousy that the enemy uses and plays on in order to keep us in the decrepit and terrible condition that we're in.
Well, I'll just read this point that our sister Gabrielle Mohammed said, yes, sir. And the minister told Jesse Jackson to come out of their bedroom. He wanted nearness to his enemy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, sister. For those of you again who remember, when the minister began talking, he started talking about dictators. And of course, and he was talking in the context of, Donald Trump and some of these other leaders, and how some of us, we want to be the king. We want to be a dictator, you see? And the minister was really admonishing us to guard ourselves against that kind of arrogance, because that type of mentality only gets us into trouble. Then the minister said that the nation of Islam will survive. The nation will succeed. It will be successful. But what that means is that we've got to understand, those of us who believe that we want to see a Black future that is glorious and beautiful, whether we participate in its creation or not, it's going to happen. That's the point.
Sorry, can I just
go ahead.
You just need to move it on this side. No,
you want me over here?
Yeah, because I can't really see you.
Okay. So, dear family, whether we play our role or not, it's going to happen. And it will happen in spite of or despite us. And so I just don't want us to have this mentality where we're so arrogant that we think that if we don't play our role,
it's not gonna happen.
Somehow, we're spiting God, or we can, we're so important that somehow, well, this is not going to happen.
Yes. And that's what people say, oh, it will never happen. It's not going to happen. But that's why this book is so key, the Holy Quran.
That's right.
Because you read about the disbelievers, the hypocrites, and the believers.
That's right.
And the idolaters.
That's
what
right.
The minister was saying, everything is in
it's in the book. It's in the book,
but
beloved.
Who are you going to play?
Yes. What role are you going to play? Because it's a very good point Sister Claudia raises, you see, because it's not an accident that it's called scripture.
That's right.
You see, because it's a script. And believe it or not, each of us can choose to play a role where we read or we play out or we act out that script.
But because we're so destroyed as a people, we automatically think, oh, I must be the hypocrite or because we're so destroyed as a people, you've got to learn to see that, no, you can be a believer.
Absolutely. But also, if we do see ourselves as the hypocrite or the Judas or whatever, there's an opportunity for us to change.
That's right.
You can change.
That's
You don't
right.
have to play that role.
That's right.
Some of us, live on our birth sign. The birth sign says, oh, we've got a tendency towards gambling.
Yes.
So
Then
then
you
we
start
go to the
gambling.
bookie shop.
Yes.
We start gambling.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yes.
This thing says you got a tendency towards gambling. You say, well, you know what? I'm not going to follow no tendency like that.
Yes.
Did you know that the white man by nature has a leaning to evil?
That's right.
That's his inclination is evil. He can't help it. That's his nature. However, you got some white people, they lean the other way. They fight like hell not to go down that road. And so, dear family, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that in that talk just now, that it's a tough time for the so-called religious people, especially religious teachers. You see, because again, if you want to find hypocrisy, you don't have to look too far than the pulpit of the church or the mosque or the synagogue. It's sad, but that's a reality. You see, and those of us who want to be in those kind of positions and use such positions for evil purposes, man, the minister is warning that those kind of people are going to get the worst. You see, because, it's bad enough to incline oneself to evil and wickedness, but to do it whilst wearing the clothing of a righteous person. That wolf in sheep's clothing. No, dear family, the minister said it's going to be a tough time for religious personage. Dear family, we must humble ourselves, because the minister reminds us again that all of us have got that date with destiny. See, that's a very humbling thing, when we appreciate that we're going to die.
Yes.
Everybody has to die.
There's no escaping.
Nobody leaves out of this life alive.
Otherwise, we shouldn't have been born.
Everybody is going, okay? Myself and yourself. So once again, we realize that, why do we get so jumped up in this life where we think that somebody should be looking up to us, or somebody should be bowing down to us, or we should be lording it over somebody else? Why don't we just humble ourselves and take our place among our brothers and sisters? See, because I really cannot emphasize this enough, because we talk all the time in the Black world, in the Black community, about unity. And this unity thing, man, it seems so elusive, you see. And this is, we all of these different groups and organizations, and they get torn apart by envy and jealousy and isms and schisms. And you got the African continent that could be the greatest superpower overnight. But because we're 54 nations divided by our enemy, and we refuse to be the United States of Africa, we continue to suffer. You see, because of course, all of these so-called leaders, they don't want to give up their perceived power to say, let's have one president, let's have one currency, let's have one military, let's have one nation that may be, 54 states, like the United States of America. Man, we would be a real powerhouse then if we had the United States of the Caribbean. Can you imagine? But you see, dear family, because of this mentality that we've been fed, many of us have swallowed it, and we actually believe that, the way in which we currently function is just the way it is, and that's the way we are, and we can't do anything different. What the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is trying to teach us is that we can do a lot better and different. Go ahead, sister.
No, I was going to say, the saying, isn't it? The race is not for the swift,
but for those who can endure to the end.
That's right.
That's right. Another way of saying that is that it's not how we begin, how fast we begin,
right.
but can we keep
You
going?
just have to keep going. Although you can be knocked down or knocked back, you just got to get up and keep going.
In the talk that the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan was giving, did you notice the way the minister was preparing us for his departure?
That's right.
You see, I mean, do you know how many so-called leaders fail to do that? And then when they depart, either through death or some other, the incident of time or whatever, the whole movement implodes and falls apart because that person was all about them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about the future generations. There was no consideration about what comes next. Because again, there was no humility. The minister talked about our mortality and recognizing our mortality and the fact that we're not going to be here forever.
And passing on the baton.
Come on, man. Sister Claudia lifted up the Holy Quran. The minister's talking about the importance of studying the book. You see, and carrying that book into practice. Because if we do that, the same way in which it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he became great, you and I can become great through that study, through that making that book a part of our very existence. You see, and the same way in which the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been successful in building the nation of Islam and transforming so many hundreds of thousands of lives, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan likewise. Look, dear family, we got to understand that there's something else that we're not employing in our lives that's causing us not to grow into the greatness. And when I say greatness, I'm not talking about being the big man, but greatness in that when we have a relationship with God.
That's right.
You see, the way we're taught is that as individual human beings, we're zero. But with God standing next to us, with that one standing next to us, we have power to the tune of 10. You see, that's where the real power lies. And again, please forgive me, family, because I always have to remind us, we're not talking about no spook God. Okay? God is a man. God is a man. And so, dear family, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it takes a man 75 years just to know what life is about. But what happens to the fact that we're dying now at 60? We're dying at 55. We're dying at 40 because of the way we live. We eat so much bad food. Right. We smoke. We vape. We're taking so many drugs. So we're just dropping dead. But if we were living correctly, it would take 75 years for a man just to know what this life is all about. Because at 75 years, we're not supposed to be decrepit. We're not supposed to be falling apart, all our teeth missing and all the rest of us, the atrophy that takes place. Part of the reason why we are in the decrepit state and condition that we're in is because, one, the type of world that we live in, and two, we've fully bought into the world. We're not trying to separate ourselves from this world, be in the world, but not of the world. And so because we are partakers of her sins and her plagues, then we're plagued just like the rest of the world, dear family. The minister was warning against idolatry. You see, making idols. I think that one of the programs that's on the TV is American Idol, isn't it? Pop Idol, American Idol, whatever. And, these football stars, they're idols, man.
That's
You know,
right.
the singers of songs and the rappers and, you know, some of these actors and whatever, they're idol. We
Worship.
idol worship
Yeah.
them. But it's something that God frowns on, and it's not permitted, because it's not good that we elevate other people on these types of idolized pedestals, whilst really not looking at self in order to bring ourselves up to the standard that Almighty God Allah desires for each and every one of us to achieve. The minister
standard.
Yeah, it's a God standard. The ministers, but look at the minister. You know, look at myself and Sister Claudia. We're talking about the minister all the time. But guess what? We don't worship him. And the minister is making it abundantly clear in what we were just watching and listening to, that he's not there to be worshipped. And he was really disabusing the audience from that type of worship, because, and one of the reasons he explained why he wasn't even going into his notes that those brothers and sisters have worked so hard to prepare for him was because, having heard some of what was being said prior to him coming onto the platform, the minister had to deal with the potential that people were going down that road of worship, idol worship, and really to put people back into a right state of mind to appreciate that only Almighty God Allah is worthy of worship. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say, I think I'm a little tired of worship of the minister. I still growing.
Absolutely.
So I have to be honest.
Yeah, and you know, I think the minister kind of explains, even with a child, how in the early stages of life, mum is God.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the child doesn't know any better. The child cries, who comes? Mum comes.
Yeah.
You see? But at a certain point, when you get to a certain age, then you realize, well, you know, and especially if mum's a righteous mum and the child sees mum praying, so who's mum calling on? Who's mum praying to? You see? And so, you know, Sister Claudia has just been very honest, and there's nothing wrong with being honest, and we should be honest, beloved. You know, that that somebody can be your hero, your idol, or whatever, but ultimately we have to grow out of that situation.
That's right.
And make sure that we are trying to develop a relationship with God.
That's right.
And that we're worshiping God and God alone.
That's right.
Because there's a real danger that if we, the minister talked about the Christians and them worshiping Jesus.
And that's where they fell.
It's a big time failure.
Yes.
And the enemy is the one who has orchestrated all of this. You see? But Jesus was very clear.
Like the minister was very clear.
Jesus was very clear. Why calleth thou me good? There is none good but the Father. Listen to the language that the minister just used. He said, I'm not as much, he says, I am not as much as a filthy worm compared to his teacher, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he said, he heard the most honorable Elijah Muhammad say that about Master Farad Muhammad, that he compared himself, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad compared himself to a filthy worm in comparison to God. You see? And what does God say in the scriptures in the Bible? He says, your righteousness is as filthy rags in the eyes of God. So let's just, I guess, what this message is really trying to convey is how each of us has to just learn to humble ourselves.
You have to go through the stages of development.
Yeah. And not, you know, suffer from delusions of grandeur, because this is what causes a lot of the problems to develop in our ranks, in our societies, in our nation, whereby now we spend so much time tearing each other down because of our own perceived value. You know, how great we are in comparison to that brother over there or that sister over there. And it's a real mistake, dear family.
And that's why once you appreciate that you're here you were born to be a God, and it's not your will, it's God's will that you're supposed to be, we're all supposed to be doing. So then the more we feed on the teachings, the more we're turning into God, and we lose all these filthy, the envy, the jealousy, all these, but you've got to keep feeding. So then sometimes you want to point at this brother or sister, oh, I don't like that. No, but it's in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's a stage, you have to keep growing and growing and growing. It's a lifelong journey that we're all on.
Absolutely.
To see that it's not thy will, it's God's will that we have to do.
That's right. And also, you see, dear family, it's about rising above this world.
Yes.
You see, and when we say rising, it's a consciousness. It's higher fields of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, which comes from God.
Yeah, God's mind, higher.
It will raise us. You know, there's even a scripture that says, he who exalts himself will be abased, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. See, it's not that there's anything wrong with rising up in terms of self-esteem and, you know, greatness, but let God be the one to rise you up and elevate you. Stop trying to do that yourself.
Yeah.
You see, that's the danger.
But also, when you are being risen up, you keep saying all praises.
All the praise belongs to Allah.
Always. And it takes you, it just takes you off yourself.
Yeah, and don't say it and don't mean it.
No, exactly.
Don't say all praise is due to Allah, but in your heart and in your mind, you're thinking, oh man, that's for me. No, all the praise is for God.
That's right. When somebody says, oh, you're really good at that, all praise is due to Allah. Always.
So, dear family, we must rise and go higher because God is the Most High. That's the only reason that we should have for wanting to rise. It's to rise, as we say in our study guide, rising above that emotional level, that envy, that jealousy, that hatred, that, you know, those negative things that we do. Rise above that into the thinking of God. What's his thinking? His thinking is that we're all his creatures. We all benefit from him. We all get our life from him. We all, you know, should love him.
And he's so merciful.
Oh man. Dear family, we must learn, and this is one of the difficult ones now that the minister just touched on, but we must learn about the Satan of self.
That's right.
See, it's so easy to point out the Satan in somebody else. I think Sister Claudia just said it in truth, yeah. You see, but if you can see it in somebody else, chances are. And if we can kill that Satan of self, and it makes itself manifest in so many ways. Greed, lust, you know, this wickedness that some of us do to other people. You see, that Satan of self, and so many of us spend our lives in denial. We don't want to recognize that that's a part of our makeup. But if we can admit that it's there, then we actually have an opportunity to be able to kill it. That's the start.
To recognize
the start is to recognize it.
And hear that.
And then if we can recognize it, dear family, we can ultimately kill that Satan of self. And if we can kill the Satan of self, there is no satanic force on the external to ourselves that can ever do us any harm. You see, the greatest fight we're taught in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that any of us will ever have is the negativity of our own selves.
That's right.
If we can defeat that in us, you see, then our rise is absolutely inevitable. You know, we can achieve so much as a people on the international scale and on a personal, individual level. We can achieve so much, but we've got to recognize that the impediments to our rise, to our growth, our development, our success, oftentimes lies with us. Because, you know, a lot of us have got aspirations to do things and be somebody, whatever, but you have to be careful of those things, you see, because if it's a desire, I want to be a big man, what does that mean? See, we want to be a big shot, but what does that mean? How does that then relate to the other brother or the other sister? How can you see? It's one thing to want to be a righteous man or a righteous woman. What does that mean? Just to do right, do good. By the time surely man is in loss, except those who believe. That's the criteria. Except man is in loss. All of us are going to lose. All of us are losing, except those who believe and do good and exhort one another to truth. Because truth is going to set us free, right? Absolute truth. Exhort one another to truth and exhort one another to patience. The race is not to the swift, but for those who can endure to the end. It's a lifelong process. Some of us are in too much of a hurry, and as soon as something don't work out tomorrow, to hell with it, and we're gonna smash and we're gonna wreck and we're gonna throw the towel in, and then everything's just finished.
As Sister Ava Muhammad always beautifully said, the white man is the instant man, instant coffee, instant
everything.
And that's how we've got. We just want everything now.
Yes, microwave.
Yes, ping.
Ping, and the food is nuked to death, and then you eat it, and then you're nuked to death.
But everything takes time. It could take years.
Come on, family.
It takes time, but we have to retrain ourselves, as the messenger said. We have to be made over again.
So, brothers and sisters, I hope we, you know, from that we really understand that's really the solution. The solution is to be more like God. And something beautiful that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said when he was talking to us a few minutes ago was about, you know, the promise of Allah, that about gardens and fertile land and you know, flowing rivers and greenery and all of this and fruits and all of this, but yet this was being spoken to people who were in a desert. And the minister could bear witness because he was in Saudi Arabia and these places in the desert. But the minister then went on to explain how that's made manifest not by Shazam or abracadabra, but by God inspiring a man, inspiring a woman to know that you can go into the desert and bring water up from the desert to make your oasis. That's what we talked about last week. Can you remember Muammar Gaddafi and that great canal, that great enterprise where he brought water up from under the desert and made Libya into a real beautiful, powerful oasis of water and greenery? Well, that's how it works, dear family. The more we attach ourselves to God and his inspiration, his revelation, his teaching about us, because nobody can teach you a knowledge of self except God, who is the maker of self. And when we adhere ourselves to that word, to that teaching, man, nothing, dear beloved family, that God promises is beyond us. I hope what we have shared thus far makes sense, because this is what we are dealing with this evening on the Image and Nation show. Before we look at where the significant problem stems from, because we have a problem and we look around at a multiplicity of solutions, but in the absence of God and his revealed word to his servants, I tell you straight up, beloved family, we're just not gonna make it. We're just not gonna achieve what it is that we think we're gonna achieve, and we're not gonna be able to solve the problem.
That's right. Without God.
Without God, the problem is unsolvable.
That's right.
We need to come to the realization that we are a unique and special people who have been changed out of all recognition of ourselves, and that only a thorough knowledge of self and God. And you know what we're taught in the teachings? We're taught that when you know God, you know self. And when you know self, you know God, because there's no separation. That only a thorough knowledge of self and God can undo the years of thinking and acting out of a satanic mindset while being in denial of what God has revealed through his servants, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, whose teachings can and will transform every life that it touches. I can bear witness. Can you bear witness, Sister Claudia?
Absolutely.
These teachings transform
Right.
life. Those of you who watch us on a weekly basis, if you admire us or you think anything good of us, it is as a result of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Before these teachings, man, I'm telling you, family, I know I wouldn't even be here. I can say for sure that I wouldn't be here based on the life trajectory that I was on, the path that I was on. Man, I wouldn't be here today, dear family.
I would be dead anyway, dead mentally.
And I certainly wouldn't have anything of value to share.
That's right.
Because I know me, when I was growing, I was so ignorant. When I was running those streets, man, as a teenager, man, I was in a lot of trouble, dear family. And I can never thank Allah enough for raising up the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because that's the proof of the majesty of this word. And so, dear family, we're going to go a little bit deeper now into what we wanted to share. I don't know if we're going to have the time, to be honest with you, to go through all of it, but we will. We just want to, look at some of this stuff. Look at our brother, Bill Cosby. Say, I don't know the name of this brother, but the name of his podcast is AfriPost. And we want to give him credit for this episode of his show, which we will play in full if we have the time to break down the content, where a young Bill Cosby shows some of the historical methodology employed in the destruction of our identity as God's people. This is the type of work, some of the kind of work that Bill Cosby was doing back in the day as a young actor who was trying to help the Black community to come to terms with who we are.
Hello guys, I hope wherever you're watching us from, you're having a great time. This is AfriPost and welcome to today's video. Now, many videos that I've done here have always focused on the need to uplift the Black person. Some of my viewers have always asked me that why is it that AfriPost mostly focuses on issues relating to black people. And I've always said that my main purpose for starting this channel was to really speak out the truth and to speak for those who don't have enough energy to speak for themselves. And that is why today I want to play for you a video. And in this video, it is very, very heart-wrenching for me because I found it difficult to watch it fully, but I was patient enough to really look to it and understand the depth within which the black person has been chastised and disrespected. Here is a clip by one actor that is known to many. This is William Henry Cosby, who is popularly known as Bill Cosby. He was sometime having some challenges in the court system, and prior to the challenges that he faced, there are certain works that he did that are worth commending. And in this video, you are going to see the depth within which the white person disrespected blacks and how they used art as a tool of ensuring that whites believed that they were superior to blacks. And this was the strategy through which they ensured that white supremacy was cemented in the hearts of white people. So let's watch this video keenly and then come back and talk about it more.
Now, what's the whitest thing you know? Whiter than the driven snow, whiter than the whites of your eyes? Sugar. Non-integrated, non-black, sweet sugar. But you see, there is a black man in your sugar. His name is Norbert Rillier. Norbert Rillier in 1846 invented a vacuum pan that revolutionized the sugar refining industry. Now, you have to dig to find that fact. I mean, it's not much history, but it's still history. Now, what do you stand in? In your shoes. Now, there's just you and your shoes, isn't there? Nope. See, there's a black man standing in your Oxfords with you. Sharing your soul and your heel is a man, his name is Jan Ernst Metzelliger. And in 1863, this is a drawing by the kids, Metzelliger invented the machine that made mass-produced shoes possible. Now, you have to dig around for that fact, too. And again, it's not much history, but it's history. Am I coming in clear to California? I mean, is this TV signal driving through a pass in the Sierra Nevada mountains and slipping into San Francisco? Okay, well, I want to thank you, Jim Beckworth. Jim Beckworth, out of St. Louis, hunter, trapper, and honorary chief of the Crow tribe of Indians. We had trouble finding you, Jim. Though you helped open the West, you didn't make the books. Chicago, right here, where the Wrigley building is. Young fellow by the name of Jean-Baptiste de Sable. Jean-Baptiste, he founded you, Chicago, when he traded with the Indians. And of course, there it is right there at that particular time. It was called Chicago, or Stinking Onion, by the Indians. And de Sable, he didn't even change the name at all. Now you take the Lewis and Clark expedition here, right in there. You'll find a black man named York helping to open the West. Those men are trying to wash the black out of York. That's what you might call historically significant, because a lot of people think we ought to wash white, but we ain't gonna, you see. Texas, coming to you, Texas, right down the Chisholm Trail, right here. Right down there with 5,000 black cowboys who never made it to the Hollywood Western. Did you know that, huh? In this same group, there was one black outlaw. His name was Deadwood Dick, who claimed his soul brothers were Bat Masterson, Billy the Kid, and Jesse James. Deadwood Dick used to ride into the saloon, order 2 drinks, one for himself and one for his horse. And here's his horse drinking a shot of red eye with a straw. And how about the 186,000 blacks who fought on the Union side during the Civil War? 38,000 died. How about Teddy Roosevelt's charge up San Juan Hill? It wasn't just the Rough Riders who made it. 4 black regiments went right up with Teddy. They didn't get lost going up the hill. They got lost in the history books. How about the North Pole? Snow White? Well, the first man there was black, Matthew Henson. He spoke Eskimo. And he was Admiral Peary's navigator, and although he made it first to the pole, it never quite made it to the history books. And how about your heart? Can we get there? All right. Daniel Hale Williams first performed open heart surgery successfully. But this list could go on forever. Blacks who made it, blacks who made history.
Dear family, I hope you're following, you see, because our children don't know these things, because many of us don't know these things, we think that these are things that were done by others, when in reality, so much of what this world is built on was originated and started by our people. And when we know this about ourselves and our own genius, our own creativity, man, it would lend to us a much better perception of ourselves and would be able to help us to propel ourselves into greatness. But the fact that so much of this history is hidden, then now so many of us walk around with this inferiority complex because our true nature, our true identity, our true accomplishments have been hidden. And it's not hidden by accident, it's hidden by design, because they know very well that if the people don't know who they are, what they've accomplished, then they won't believe that they can actually go forward and accomplish even greater than what we did yesterday.
But who didn't get into the history text at all. And the strange thing is how little there is about us in the textbooks. Napoleon once said, history is a fable agreed upon, and the fable agreed upon up to now is that American history is white on white. But sometimes we did get into the history books. All wrong. Now you take this one. The Growth of the American Republic, 1942 edition. Samuel Eliot Morrison, Henry Steele Commager. Quote, as for. This has to do with slavery. As for Sambo, Professor Morrison. Sambo, Professor Commager. As for Sambo, whose wrongs moved the abolitionists to wrath and tears, there is some reason to believe that he suffered less than any other class in the South from its peculiar institution. Peculiar institution means slavery. Although brought to America by force, the incurably optimistic Negro soon became attached to the country and devoted to his white folks. Unquote. Those lines were written by two Pulitzer Prize-winning white Northern professors. Slavery. That's the place everybody likes to start Negro history. You have ignorant black men being brought over from Africa in chains. Terrible thing, slavery. But this way slavery is taught, it sort of takes the sting out of it. Because the way it's usually taught, people think that we Afro-Americans started with nothing but little grass skirts like the kids in the Tarzan movies. And
also, family, don't forget, I've just been reminded by 8th Electronics really to remind you to like this show, dear family. Hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe as well, because it helps our show to keep growing and, you know, becoming more visible online.
Though America gave us slavery, America kindly gave us religion and a lick or two of education. And when we get more jobs and more education, up from slavery. But we had something before we left Africa, something more than rhythm. I mean, we had a high culture. Culture was so high that great artists in the world are still borrowing from it. Now here's a sculpture by an unknown African artist. And here's what Paul Klee took from him. Now here's a work by an unknown black African, and Pablo Picasso liked what he saw. Another African design, and Modigliani swiped it, or he was influenced by it, or whatever polite word you want to use. Another black African artist, and Picasso didn't change it very much. I mean, when you look at this copying, you got to give us a little more than rhythm. You got to give us style. Now, if you tell the history of slavery right, you got a big problem on your hands. The slave trader didn't take some savage out of Africa. He took a human being. He sold him like an animal and separated him from his family. America invented the cruelest slavery in the history of the world. It broke up black families. After slavery was over, America kept breaking up the black man's family. And that's some awful history to teach. Now, if you want to look history right straight in the eye, you're going to get a black eye. Because it isn't important whether a few black heroes got lost or stolen or strayed in America's history textbooks. What's important is why they got left out. Now, this country has got a psychological history. There was a master race, there was a slave race. And though there isn't any political slavery anymore, those same old attitudes have hung around. I mean, the burning part of Burn, Baby Burn is right here in this classroom. We want to thank Mrs. Lovely Billups and the whole gang here at fourth grade for the brilliant and intelligent artwork that they've done here to make this whole broadcast sing. I want you guys to keep pretending that I'm not here. You're doing a great job, and just keep on drawing and reading and writing, doing what you have to do, because I'm going to talk about some other kids. Not you, Mary, John, and Bob. These are kids from other schools. Did you know in some states it used to be against the law to teach blacks to read or write? Nowadays we're getting these integrated schoolrooms, and most people think that if we get enough teaching and enough jobs, everything is going to take care of itself. But there is a scar of history running right through kids as young as these. It tears you up if you know how to look at drawings kids make, because kids shouldn't know much about history and anything about discrimination. I mean, nobody hates little black kids, but why do some of them cause so much trouble? And if you ask black and white children to draw themselves, or trees, or houses, some strange things happen. We asked some ordinary white kids from ordinary families to make some drawings for us. Like, well, let's call him John. John's white, and we asked him to draw himself.
And please remember, dear family, that this isn't ancient history, okay? This is just the other day that our brother, as a young man, was really just pointing out some basic facts. And understand this, that today it may even be worse in terms of the psychological trauma that many of our young people, young children in these schools are currently going through, what they're being taught and miseducated about, to the degree where there's such self-hatred that literally now you see the level of violence among our youth and the type of things which are happening on the streets. You know, please don't think that this is some ancient history here. This is an ongoing situation that has yet to be rectified, yet to really be addressed, because unfortunately some of us, you know, we take our eye off the prize. We drop the ball. We don't appreciate and understand just who and where we live and who we live amongst. And we don't make the connection with history and now. You see, cause and effect. But we've got to start doing this, brothers and sisters, and then we have to appreciate what the solution is, as opposed to guesswork and conjecture.
This is John. This is his house, and this is his tree. Then we asked a black kid, let's call him Ralph, to do the same thing. This is Ralph's drawing of himself. This is his tree. Now, why should two kids of the same age draw so differently? Enter the expert. This is Dr. Emmanuel Hammer, psychiatrist specializing in children's therapy.
Oh, let me illustrate it for you. Let's take these drawings. No matter what a child draws, he's really picturing himself. Ask a secure child to draw a tree, and he's likely to draw a bountiful, spreading tree. A black child drew this tree, cut off in its growth, stark, bare, ungratified. It works the same way with drawings of people. Normal children, average drawings. The mood is happy, the child feels capable, the drawings are complete, and the arms are developed to emphasize strength. These children were old enough to draw complete figures. The significant fact is what they left out: arms, hands. A child may sense that a situation in life is so powerless that he himself is equivalent to an armless man. My own study reveals that armless people appear 3 times more frequently in the drawings by black children than those by white. The faceless beings suggest that these youngsters not only feel themselves to be less than they might be, they don't even feel themselves to be. The black child who is forced to live in a hostile world may disappear in self-defense. He drifts through life feeling like a shadow. He stops caring and he stops trying. A child who has this on his mind cannot be a child. A child who has this on his mind could want to burn down cities when he gets older.
And just on that, dear family, I really want you to appreciate what the psychologists are saying about the children, for instance, now in the Congo and in Ghana, in other parts of, in Haiti and in Gaza, and the level of trauma. And when the children draw, the types of things that they draw, I mean, it's like, it's just horror. And understand that that trauma stays with those young people for the rest of their lives. Unless they're able to get therapy, unless they're able to get, you know, relief from this, that which they've been subjected to, then this carries with them and ultimately influences what they ultimately are able to achieve or do, or where they end up. And this school to prison pipeline is not some theory, it's very real. And so again, I hope that you are appreciating the necessity of doing this type of show to remind us of the kind of work that is still yet to be done, that we need to appreciate that there are systems, persons and systems that have been working scientifically to keep us in the condition that we're in, while we may think it's just some haphazard, accidental process that we have witnessed in our own lives.
The whole confusion was summed up by a black 9-year-old in these 2 paintings. This is a 9-year-old boy draws a white man, Robin Hood maybe. And this is how the same boy draws himself. And this is the consequence of deformed history.
Linda, close the curtains. Brian, lower the screen. Bonnie, lights please.
In the past 50 years, 33,000 feature films have been made in the United States, and about 6,000 of them have had parts for black actors. For the most part, the black portraits have been drawn by white writers, white producers, and white directors for a white audience. Most black parts were the way white Americans wanted them to be. The black male was consistently shown as nobody, nothing. He had no qualities that could be admired by any man, or more particularly, any woman.
When the sun goes down, the tide goes down, the dark gather round and they all begin to shout, hey, hey, Uncle Dudley, feed
White people didn't like to think much about them, sort of like a relative you got in a rest home. I mean, happy darkies, dancing and singing was all they wanted to hear about. Being good Christians, the whites out front liked to think the blacks out back were kind of happy. Uncle Tom's Cabin was one of the first movies made that tried to say anything about black people. Uncle Tom was changed a little each time it was put on the stage, and all the parts were played by white actors. And by the time they made a movie of it in 1903, Uncle Tom was just the white man's idea of a good nigger. You might say he was what H. Rap Brown ain't. They made this picture 5 times. And by the time they finished with it, Mickey Rooney could have played Uncle Tom. Minstrel shows started as the black man's entertainment for himself and the plantation owners. When they were filmed, though, they were done by a white cast. You figure that out. They were done as sort of a joke, and the black entertainer couldn't even get a job making fun of himself. The first really vicious anti-Negro film was called The Birth of a Nation, and it was a honey. And the second worst thing about it was that technically in 1918 it was the best movie that had ever been made. A cat named D.W. Griffith produced it, and he knew how. See? Birth of a Nation pretended to tell the story of the Civil War and what happened afterwards when the slaves were freed. A white woman couldn't walk her own sidewalk, if you believe the picture. In the South, Negroes got the right to vote, and the movie showed black vote collectors refusing to accept white votes, and black people sneaking in extra votes. And if these black bad guys don't look very bad to you, it's probably because they were white actors wearing burnt cork. Negro legislators took over in the South, and in the film they were made to look like apes. And this was the movie version of how it looked in the Southern state legislature. They drank whiskey, they ate chicken with their hands in the State House, and they put their feet up on the table with the shoes off. And of course, they passed all sorts of crazy laws according to the film, like anybody could marry anybody they wanted to. It was obvious to anyone who saw this picture that Negroes weren't fit to govern themselves or anyone else because they really weren't people. This film is 50 years old, and it may look silly and out of date now, but it didn't look silly when it was made and seen. Several million Americans who saw it were propagandized to believe that this is the way things would be if they weren't careful. So they've been pretty careful. Colonel Cameron, a former officer in the Confederate Army, is all upset over the way Northerners and the freed slaves are changing his South, taking the mint julep right out of his mouth. So he takes a walk one day while he's worrying about it, and he sees 2 white kids playing, and then 4 black kids come along. Being hardly human and naturally afraid of ghosts, the black kids run. Colonel Cameron sees the whole scene, gets his great idea, and with this, that great white all-American organization, the KKK, was born. The cavalry and the bedsheet has come to the rescue. The South is saved. In this picture, the Ku Klux Klan was the good boy who saved the South. Most Hollywood films, though, even the early ones, weren't really nasty. Nobody was sitting around saying, hey, let's take care of the niggers. What producers were doing was making money. And to make money, they made pictures that white ticket buyers would enjoy. They showed Negroes the way most Americans like to think of them. To blame Hollywood is like throwing a rock at the mirror because you don't like what you see in it. Burt Williams was one of the great vaudeville performers. He couldn't get parts in white pictures, so he made a lot of short comedies. He played the part most Americans consider typical Negro. He wasn't bad, really, just lazy, stupid, and happy the way he was. And his feet hurt. He was afraid of most everything. And when he was scared, he shook and his teeth chattered. Unlike a scared white man, the black man's eyes could pop out of his head. And when he was so scared he couldn't talk. And he was also so scared he couldn't run. Black women, on the other hand, were steady and imperturbable. They stood like a rock on the face of things that scared black men. Another strange physical characteristic was when they were really very scared, the guys turned white. When you look back on these old films, the patterns come jumping out at you. The most consistent thing about them was the attack on the black man. He was never even given the privilege of being a man. He was a boy, as in, you know, here boy. They had a lot of other great qualities besides being cowardly. For instance, they stole chickens.
Who's in there? Who's in there? Ain't nobody in there but us chickens.
They shot craps.
Dice, your papa talking to you now, Dice. Come on. Just hit them one more time.
And lions weren't the only thing they were afraid of either. They were afraid of gorillas.
Wallace Rose, is that you next to me? Wallace Rose, is that you next? Now, come on, Wallace Rose. Now, don't start arguing. Come on, tell me the truth. Is that you next to me? Wallace Rose, please say yes, that's you.
They were also afraid of ghosts and skeletons.
Jeff? Is that you scratching my head? Jeff? Jeff! Now, come on, now, what are you looking at?
What's your hurry, boys? Even when they were little boys, they had these characteristics. Farida in our gang was the boy. The tradition of the lazy, stupid, crap-shooting, chicken-stealing idiot was popularized by an actor named Lincoln Theodore Monroe Andrew Perry. The cat made $2 million in 5 years in the middle 30s, and everyone who ever saw a movie laughed at Stepin' and Fetch It.
Come out, wherever you is, wherever you be, wherever you do. Come out, wherever you am. How's the government looking for you? Where you going, stranger? You scare somebody stiff like that. I'm looking for hillbillies as you are. I ain't saying I am and I ain't saying I ain't. Well, that's close enough for me, because I'm tired of walking myself. The government told me I got to bring in a hillbilly, so you come go with me to Washington. I ain't a-going. That's the color of another horse. But I tell you, you don't go for me. We go for the Navy. No! I don't go for the Navy. I tell you, go for the Army. No, I won't go for the Army. No, I won't go for Texas.
It's too bad he was as good at it as he was. The character he played was planted in a lot of people's head, and they remember it the rest of their lives as clear as an auto accident.
What's that? Are you an Indian? Yes, man, you don't know. I got Army Indian. I got 1 for the Cherokee, 2 for Seminole, and I got 4/5 Hiawatha. Wait a minute. Hiawatha was a woman. I can't help it. I got 4/5 of them.
He played in movies with other actors who were as American as Mom's raspberry jello. If they accepted the stereotype, how wrong could it be?
Mr. Judge Rickman, can I see you some, please?
Well, I'm pretty busy.
Yes, but I just want to ask if you cared about it.
Hear about what?
About over at my house, night before last.
Oh, another baby?
Yes, you sure guessed it, you heard.
What's his name?
Oh, we call him L.R. Elias Rigby Livingston.
Oh, named him after me, did you?
Yes, Elias Rigby. I told my wife, Ethel, I said, honey, I know Judge sure gonna be gratified.
Well, of course, yes, I appreciate the honor.
Yes,
I suppose a compliment, and I ought to do something for you.
Yes, that's what I thought. Cause
You come over to my place tomorrow, and I'll give you a job.
Yeah.
Rake and leave.
I asked him to wait.
All-American little Shirley Temple played a lot of parts that involved her with black actors. She was always real nice to them.
Oh, James Henry, you always do it wrong.
This is an imitation Step and Fetch It named Willie Best with Shirley.
Come on, Miss Virgie.
When I was a child and I came from Jamaica, I remember watching Shirley Temple films like this, and I loved them. I loved her. You know, she was like this wonderful little actress. I mean, I wasn't even thinking of it on that level.
Yeah.
It was more the character, just really, you know, this little girl, you see. And what you didn't appreciate was that all of these black people around her were so stupid and so foolish in their depiction. It goes deep, dear family, in terms of how psychologically this gets you to fall in love with white people and white children and white women, and, you know, and to really despise and hate yourself, because when you look at the juxtaposition between her character and the others playing around her, the blacks, there's no comparison. They're just not on her level. And you see, again, these people are so smart in the type of imagery that they created on these films. I can bear witness that as a young boy, I was influenced by this stuff. I can remember not that long after coming from Jamaica, where I really didn't know anything about racism, but I can remember there was a point when I looked in the mirror in the house where we lived in the UK, and I asked God, why did you make me black and ugly? And that shows you how insidious that brainwashing, or I don't even like the term brainwashing, because in truth, that's what we actually need. We need to have our brains washed. But how insidious that programming was, whereby I was beginning to see myself in such a negative light. The self-hatred was being bred, yet I was coming from more or less a solid black country. But in a short space of time, having been exposed to this type of medium, this was the way I was thinking. Anything from yourself, Sister Claudia?
No, it's just interesting. From 8th Electronic says, Shirley yesterday, Hillary today.
Right, there you go. And that's not a lightweight statement, you see, because the amount of black people who are in love with Hillary Clinton. I mean, this woman is so evil and wicked. It can't even, you can't even begin to imagine. But how many of us, you know, were so brokenhearted and disturbed when Trump beat her in 2016, because that was our hope and our dreams was with Hillary. My God, dear family, please, I hope that we're thinking, and I'm deliberately being quiet here, because to me, this little documentary put together by our African brother from AfriPost really speaks volumes, and that's why I wanted to play it today.
I just won't budge. I'll show them I'm not
The cute little white girl was brave and strong in the face of danger, and the big black man was stupid and cowardly.
What are you afraid of them for?
Oh, honey child, them Yankees is mighty powerful. They can even change the weather.
Yes?
Whenever they come around, I never know whether it's winter or summer. I'm shivering and sweating at the same time.
James Henry, serve these cookies to Master Harold and wipe his chin.
Yes, ma'am, Miss Bird.
She was good to them, and they were good to her. Sort of a master and pet relationship.
How would you like to see Uncle Billy dance? Oh!
All right, James Henry, let's get going, son.
This is Bill Bojangles Robinson, one of the great ones. But if he wanted to work and dance, he had to come into a picture through the servants' entrance. Shirley was good to children, too. They loved their little mistress, and she treated them real good.
Hello, Sally Ann.
Just like they were equals.
Go on now, Sally Ann.
Miss Virgie, please, ma'am. We all done come here to wish him many happy returns. That's it, many happy returns of the day. And we all done made you $1. Here it is. Miss Virgie, there was more I had to say, but Emmy, I forgot it. Don't you worry. This is the very nicest present I got. Thank you ever so much.
Yes, indeed, children. It was very thoughtful and sweet. Come now, dear.
I'll see you later. Say late. Oh, we'll be waiting.
I suppose it might have surprised a lot of Hollywood producers to know a scene like that could actually make a lot of people, mostly black, sick to their stomach. This is a lot of fun, isn't it? The newsreels that were shown along with feature films knew a good thing when they saw one. They helped keep all the black cats in their place. Nobody black ever did anything very newsy in a newsreel. They did things like eat watermelon in watermelon eating contests. Then another favorite for the newsreel cameraman was to film people throwing things at them. Good sport. Some college football publicity man decided this was a good idea. And there were a lot of very funny golf pictures. If you weren't black, they were funny, I guess.
Lie down. That's right out of your mouth.
Don't miss, boss, don't miss.
Well, you keep still, see? Otherwise, you'll have flour in your room and you won't smell them. Oh, boy. Oh, wait.
Everything suggested the black man was nothing. Hollywood adopted a sort of British attitude toward black natives of other countries. They were always sneaking around the bushes, you know, carrying stuff on their head. White men weren't supposed to get caught sweating. I've seen a picture called Prestige, and it stated the colonial attitude.
Don't let it break, Andre. Take to him your race for a wedding gift. The prestige of the white man. That means everything you stand for, and it is the only weapon you two will have. Prestige. That it is enough to preserve you.
Yes, sir. And I'll try to remember it. If you'll kiss me.
Even though most non-white natives of any place were savages in films, it often pleased white producers to endow a few chosen blacks with the virtue of great loyalty to him, the white man. Here's one defending Anne Harding to the death. There was always one loyal and true black man who would do anything for his master. Some of them were wonderful people. You know, if you really get a good one. Mostly, though, Negroes were not heroes. They were a bit part servants, railroad porters.
Watch your step, sir. Now, this is your destination, folks.
They made very good chauffeurs. Looked good in their caps.
Good morning, Colonel, sir.
And they were great at serving all kinds of drinks.
That coffee of yours stays with you like poor relation.
What's that you got there, Libby?
Your sassrous tea.
Wherever there was a thirsty master, there were they also.
Mom, Beck.
They played Aunt Jemima.
Will you have enough?
I don't know if I can stretch one small chicken, but as long as the water's running, we'll have soup enough.
Lottie, will you take Kay upstairs and wash all that goo off her face and give her a good...
And one question they never answered. When the Negro woman was taking care of the white woman's kids, who was taking care of hers? They did all kinds of odd jobs around the picture, like walking horses. When they weren't walking the horses, they were out back playing craps, of course. Recreation. They met people at the station for their masters.
Is you folks,
We've come all the way from Ireland. Mr. Milford's expecting us. Mr. Milford.
Yes'm, you is which I'm looking for. I'm Mr. Milford's boy.
His boy, you say?
Yes, sir. Murphy's the name, sir.
Did you say Murphy?
Yes, Mrs. Murphy. They calls me Walking Murphy.
Walking Murphy?
Yes, sir. Most of us Murphys down here just sit. I walk.
They make wonderful servants, all kinds in pictures. Dumb but loyal.
Yeah. John, isn't it the beautiful night? I just love parties, don't you?
I beg your pardon?
Thank you kindly. Yes? Hello? Oh, this is the Berrigan residence.
Things were getting pretty tough during the 30s. And a good thing for a lot of black actors was that they made a movie called The Green Pastures with, like they say, a cast of thousands. It gave a lot of people work, but it had all the old stereotyped characters. It was clever and funny and all black. But it was a white man's picture.
I'm the Indian. Henry, you sure got the prettiest wings.
Oh, they just my old ones.
Cigars, gentlemen, cigars. Let's have yourself. Cigars, gentlemen, cigars. Oh, Lord, the smokehouse is empty. Oh, Lord, let me get them groceries. Oh, Lord, let me see that little six. Where? Come on, you gonna feed me or not? Hey!
Why, you just a little boy, gambling and sinning and chewing tobacco like you was your own pappy. And you've been drinking Sonny Kick Mammy wine, too. You gamblers ought to be ashamed of yourself leading this boy to sin.
Well, he's the best crapshoot in town.
You find my mammy, do more than I can.
While Hollywood was turning out films, radio came along and decided to get in on it, too. Two white fellows from Chicago invented two black characters they named Amos and Andy. They played their parts on the radio for 30 years. This is them doing their bit.
Well, Brother Crawford looks pretty good since he's been here. Palm Springs, don't he? Yeah, looks like his wife done beat him on the...
When radio moved over to let television in, Amos and Andy went with it. These two white cats couldn't play Amos and Andy where you could see them, so what they did was they had a black cast. The cast was different, but the stereotypes were the ones that the white people had come to know and love. They were shady characters with money.
Well, I got the books right here, and they're open to each and every brother complete inspection. Get your hands off of that thing there. So you want to see the financial books, huh?
Yeah.
Well, there it is. There it is. You done see them. The meeting's adjourned.
They were still slow and lazy.
Are you sure they are not here?
Oh, yes, they told me so themselves.
Have them report to our office right away.
I sure tell them, all right.
I got to see. They had trouble with the English language. Misused words a lot.
And Mr. Brown, my new secretary here, ain't gonna have no time for no extracurricular activities.
And I'm telling you now, as long as you have that secretary in your office, I'm going to work as a secretary myself.
Oh, give me an ultimatum, huh? I'm putting my foot down.
They had trouble with women. And it was always the women who were dominant.
Come on, Herman.
Mostly black actors aren't playing the old stereotypes anymore. There are people who say they're playing a new stereotype. Sidney Poitier is always helping some little old ladies across the street, whether they want to go or not. The black people in this country got a bum deal for a long while, and it won't hurt much if we see a little of that now and then. Stanley Kramer has let us use some scenes from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. You look at these and remember Birth of a Nation. This is the opening scene when Catherine Hutton is bringing Sidney home for the first time.
This is Dr. Prentice. John, Miss Matilda Binks.
Pleased to meet you, Miss Banks. I've certainly heard a great deal about you.
Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy are the girl's parents.
Thank God he's right. She's 23 years old, and the way she is just exactly the way we brought her up to be.
We answered her question. She listened to our answers. We told her it was wrong to believe that the white people were somehow essentially superior to the black people, or the brown or the red or the yellow ones for that matter. People who thought that way were wrong to think that way. Sometimes hateful, usually stupid, but always, always wrong. That's what we said. And when we said it, we did not add, but don't ever fall in love with a colored man.
Sidney tells it like it is to his old man.
You and your whole lousy generation believes the way it was for you is the way it's got to be. And not until your whole generation has lain down and died will the dead weight of you be off our backs. You understand? You've got to get off my back. Dad, you're my father. I'm your son. I love you. I always have, and I always will. But you think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man.
By the time the world of movies and the world of education get into the streets of black America, some strange things happen. Because what history and the movies have told the black man is that he's nobody unless he joins the white world. The white world only comes into the black ghetto by messenger. The message used to read, black is nothing, white is beautiful. For this reason, a lot of black people have spent their lives trying to be white. For instance, hair. Some people still call straight hair good hair because it looks like white hair. Kinky hair is bad hair. The man on the right is having his hair cut naturally. The man on the left is having a process. What the barber is doing is applying harsh chemicals to his head so he'll have straight hair like all those movie stars have. It's a painful, long job that costs about $6 and has to be looked after every couple of weeks. These days, many young black men find the whole process demeaning. It's going out of fashion, even in the ghetto. It takes pain to become like a white man, and more pain when you know you can't make it. For a while, it seemed to the black community that the way to escape was to get as rich as possible and look as white as possible. And as affluence came to some black people, all the lessons of history and all the lessons of the movie seemed to be succeed on the white man's terms. So, the middle-class Negro took the white man's dreams and tried to make them his. Today, many middle-class Negroes have the education and the money to provide themselves with all the white man's dreams but one, universal social acceptability. He has not yet been able to join in any normal or casual way the white man's affluent society, so he has his own. The white man's attitudes still exclude the black man and the black woman.
There's a fallacy in this country that says that any man by his merits can make it. That is not true. Do not believe that. It is not true. Because any man in this society cannot make it. That's where the whole fallacy is. The white man keeps saying to you, if you just stop being black, if you just stop shooting your people on Saturday night, if you just stop talking Negro dialect, if you clean yourself up, get yourself a job, you're going to make it in this society. It's not true. I know for myself I have a master's degree in social work, and I know that people won't accept me. And I was an honor student, and I know I can make it. They won't accept me. They don't discriminate against me because I'm a Christian. They're discriminating against me because I'm black.
The message down here is coming in stronger. It's be yourself, be black. The new generation of black young Americans is asserting itself in a new and possibly disturbing way.
Many black Americans are giving up on American society. If you can't wash white, even if you have the money, if you can't wash white because you are basically black, what you do is react, sometimes radically. Here is a measure of the reaction to White is Beautiful. This is a storefront school in Philadelphia. The children are being given a black preparation before they enter the city's schools. They're not especially gifted children, they're just from the neighborhood. One black man named John Churchville put it all there in finance.
Right? You understand that?
Yes.
All right. A number is a concept of quantity or an amount. That is wrong.
No. No.
A number is a concept of quantity or an amount. That is dead wrong.
He's not only teaching new math to children whose ages range from 17 months to 5 years, he's decided to give them the emotional armor they need to protect themselves against the education they're sure to receive when they start kindergarten.
Anybody tells you something wrong, are you going to do it?
No.
All right. What do you want, Janelle?
I want freedom.
When do you want it?
I want my freedom now.
No, you have to wait till next week, Janelle. You can't have it now. How can you wait till next week?
Yes.
Okay. Sit down. All right, young man, stand up. When do you want your freedom, young man?
I want freedom now.
You can wait till next week, though, can't you?
No.
Michael, you just have to wait till next week. You can't have it now. Are you willing to wait till next week?
No.
Suppose I said that you have to wait till next week. Now, you're going to wait till next week, aren't you?
No.
How are you going to get your freedom?
I will use any means necessary to get my freedom.
Any means necessary?
Yes.
All right, sit down. Young man, what is your name?
My name is Eric Houston.
Levante. What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
What is freedom?
Freedom is black power.
What is black power?
Black power is...
Do you know what black power is?
No.
Well, then you should never make any statements if you don't know what they mean.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
All right. How old are you, young man?
I am 4 years old.
You're not 4, Eric. Now, you tell me your right age. How old are you? How old are you?
I am 4 years old.
Are you sure you're 4?
Yes.
You're going to let me turn you around and tell you you're some other age? You're 6 years old, Eric.
No.
I can't hear you, Eric.
No.
Are you being frightened by me?
No.
I'm the teacher. I said you're 6.
I am 4 years old.
All right, then. You stand up for it, then. You shouldn't be weak. You stand up and say it. You ought to scream it in my face if I try to tell you different, right?
Yes.
Have a seat. Stand up, young man. Are you a Negro, Travis?
No.
Are you a flunky, Travis?
No.
What are you?
I am black and beautiful.
And what else are you? Are you a boy?
No.
What are you?
I'm a man.
What kind of man?
Black and beautiful man.
Or what kind? Are you an old man or a young man?
Young man.
Very good. Very good. Are you going to let somebody just make you a boy?
No.
All right. Suppose I tell you something wrong, Travis. Are you going to do it?
Yes.
You're going to do something if I tell you when it's wrong?
No.
Have a seat, young man. Eric, you're going to be reasonable, aren't you?
No.
Come here. Here you are, fine young man, right?
Yes.
Are you going to be scared of me?
No.
Are you going to be scared of some president of the United States?
No.
Some mayor?
No.
Some policeman?
No.
All right. You're a Negro. Yes! You're a Negro, Eric.
No.
somebody pass me my stick. I said you're a Negro, boy.
No.
You're getting mighty soft. You're a Negro.
No.
Very good. All right, sit down. You, young man, you come here. Your nationality is American Negro. Yes.
No.
Your nation... Now look, don't play with me. You're a Negro.
No.
I am...
No.
Suppose I threatened to beat you, what would you say? Aren't you a Negro now?
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This $1. And if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yeah.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro? Are you an American Negro?
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What's your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Very good, man. Keep it up. Go sit down. You had to think about that a minute, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right. All right, everybody. What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Good. All right. What to do to you in different ways when you get out of the school? They're not going to just come right up to you and give you $1 or say, if you say that you're an if you say you're an American Negro, I'll give you $1. But they're going to be very nice to you, some of them, and they're going to try to, get you not to love black people. They're going to try to get you to, be something other than you are. They're going to try to make it seem as though you're different from the masses of black people. And they want you to go away. Now, I'll tell you, I'll give you special things if you just come along with me and do what I say. But you must reject that.
And how many of us actually prepare our children for this world? How many of us appreciate just how important it is to prepare our children, to tell our children history, to teach them the reality of this life, rather than allowing our children to go into a world that we all suffered in, and then to just be surprised by all of the madness and the negativity and the brainwashing, the conditioning that they're going to be subject to in a world like this. How many of us appreciate that we have to teach our children from the cradle? We have to teach our children from our own homes.
You know what that means? That means you're not going to have the money you'd like to have, and money is not important. We need money, we have to buy things with it, but money is not the thing that we're living for. The only thing that makes a person worth living is being a man and being a woman, being strong in character, being straight, telling the truth, and living in the truth, and doing the right thing. You understand that? So no matter what happens, I want you all to always tell the what? You may not get the marks you're supposed to get in school, you may be doing the work, but because the teacher doesn't like your attitude, and she'll always tell you, I don't like your attitude. Because you're independent, but you're not going to school for grades. You're going for what?
Yeah.
All right, and what kind of people is everybody in this room going to be? Tell me the kind of people you're going to be.
Black and beautiful.
What else? You're already that. What are you going to be? You're going to be stupid?
No.
What kind of people are you going to be?
Excellent.
You're going to be excellent, and what else? Yes, ma'am.
Strong.
And strong, and what else?
And good.
And good, and what else?
And genius.
And a genius, and what else? I'm looking for another word. All of you are geniuses right now, and you'll be better than that. What else? I'm looking for a word that begins with a B. Brilliant. Brilliant. And brilliant really means to shine. And all of you will shine. All of you are really going to be brilliant. Good enough. All right. How does everybody feel now? You ready to get ready for lunch?
Yeah!
Who's hungry?
Well, that's kind of like brainwashing. Or is it? I mean, can you blame us for overcompensating? I mean, when you take the way black history got lost, stolen, or strayed, when you think about the kids drawing themselves without faces, and when you remember the fine actors who had to play baboons to make a buck, I guess you got to give us a sin of pride. Pride. Hubris in the original Greek. It's 300 years we've been in this American melting pot, and we haven't been able to melt in yet. And that's a long wait. Listen, we've been trying all kinds of parts to make the American scene. We've been trying to play it straight and white, but it's been just bit parts. Now, from now on, we're going to play it black and American, because we're proud of both. Hubris. I'm Bill Cosby, and you take care of yourself.
All right. What is a set?
A set is a collection of objects.
What is a subset?
A subset is part of a set.
What is a member?
A member is one unit of a set.
What, in terms of set comparison, does larger mean? Everybody together. I'm going to ask you all a question. Let's see if you can do it. All right. What is arithmetic?
Arithmetic is not a number.
What is a number?
A member is one unit of a set.
What is, in terms of set comparison, what does larger mean?
Larger means a set that has more members in it.
In terms of set comparison, what does smaller mean?
Smaller means a set that has less members in it.
All right. All right. Now, quickly, look up on the board, relax, but think very quickly. You understand?
Yes.
All right. In terms of set comparison, we want to compare two sets, and I want you to tell me which is larger. The first time around.
A number is a concept of quantity.
Now, after watching that, I tend to agree with one quote that Khalid Abdul Muhammad said. And he said that we lost our religion, our culture, our God. And many of us, by the way, we act as if we have even lost our minds. You know, the persecution that black people went through and the character assassination that happened for the black person is something that is really despicable, if I can say, because this is the extent to which they try to make the black person look stupid, the black person to look lazy, to look uncouth, and to look like they don't have direction for their lives. This is really, really sad. How on earth would these things go and be left unchallenged? You've also seen what Henry Cosby is saying in that video, where he's highlighting some of the hidden history about the inventions that black people made and have been kept under tight wrap, that not many people can know, that many of the inventions that we have, many of the technological advancements that we enjoy today have their origin from black people. There are a lot of things that blacks have invented, but you find that since they were not owners of means by that time, there are people who are put behind and they searched for a white face to represent such kind of inventions. So a black person would invent something and then it would be turned to be like it is an invention from a white person. And this is really bad. And that is why for many times when I'm in this channel, I try to talk to you people. And I try to say that regardless of where you are as a black person, be it that you are in Africa, be it that you are in the United States, be it that you are in Europe, be it that you're in the Caribbean, be ready to embrace another black person that you see. Because the kind of character assassination that has been used and funded by the white enterprise cannot really be suppressed by just showing up and claiming that people have equal rights. They took years to really plant this seed within themselves. And that is why, regardless of the efforts made by different governments, you will understand that ending racism has become a serious problem. Systemic racism still continues to exist. Governments still continue to discriminate against black people. Policies that are being formed are formed that with an aim of suppressing black people. Africa right now is dominated by most European and United States companies that are working to ensure that they control everything that Africans are doing. If you look at agriculture, they are controlling the kind of seeds that Africans are supposed to grow. They are controlling the kind of livestock that Africans are supposed to keep. And this is a strategy that they are using to ensure that they end the lifespan of a black person. They try to control their food. They try to control their reality. I believe it is time for all of us as black people to understand and respect ourselves. We as a people must wake up and appreciate the fact that regardless of whether you are an African or you are a European or you are an American, as long as you're black, a white person will never see you the same. And the only thing that you can do is to ensure that you support other black people. And that is why also, for many times, I tend to support some ideas that are promoted by Minister Louis Farrakhan when he says that black people need to have enterprises working for them so that they can also control the corporate world, so that they can also control their realities and the destinies of their children. This is something that is really timely. If you've watched that video to the end, I'm sure you've learned a lot about how whites have micromanaged black people into believing that they are not superior or even important, as it were. If you're watching us for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Dear family, you heard our brother basically endorsing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is what is happening on our planet today. Our people are in tune. They are aware that there is a teaching that is there for us. You know, some of the terminologies that were being used, we've moved on from that. We're much wiser today. We're not African American. We can't be those two things. You know, we are the original man, the original woman. We are the people of God. We are all gods, children of the Most High God. And we just got to get this into our babies, let them know who they are. On earth, that history that's been buried, that's been hidden, and teach it to our children, teach it to ourselves, so that we as a people, dear family, can really move on to the next level and the next level, because the time that we're living in, it's our time now. And so I hope, you know, that you didn't get tired or bored watching that, but I thought it was, because it's an historical document, and our brother in Africa was really trying to break it down, because it's only now that a lot of our people on the continent and in other places are really becoming aware of these things, that I thought it was interesting for us to look at that and to repeat that and to go over that, because again, repetition is how you build muscle, is how you build strength. So dear family, thank you. I pray that we got the solution at the beginning. We got to go back to our God. We got to go back to our nature. We've got to be the righteous people that we were created to be in the first place. And if we will be that, then we cannot be defeated. We cannot be overcome. And the scripture says, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. In the beginning, we walked with God. In the beginning, we were God, and we will be God again. So, dear family, Sister Claudia, how did you find that?
Praise be to Allah. Well, thank Allah for coming in the person of Master Fard Muhammad to come and save us, and sending us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And now thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There is our solution to all our problems. So that's why tune in to the Final Call Radio to get the knowledge and wisdom from God himself through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Don't forget to subscribe to the Final.
Carry it into practice.
Yes,
go ahead.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper, where you can get up-to-date truth from all over the world, all these different articles. And don't forget, tune into NOI.org and go on to the media section where there's so many videos. Sit down with your family, sit down with your children, teach your children. You know, our children are actually better off out of Satan's schools. We need to take them out of Satan's schools. And even if you have to teach them at home, give them the teachings.
And you'd be surprised what you can teach and
absolutely.
how much you know and how valuable what the information that you have would be to your children.
That's right.
Don't leave it to somebody else to
No,
do it, family.
don't leave it to the enemy. These are our enemy, our open enemies, and they don't want our children to rise. But that's why we need to separate, have something for our own. Go to Muhammad University of Islam. If you haven't got one, start a school for yourselves.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
very easy just to do, you know. Few of you gather together in your home, you can just teach in your home. And as the messenger said, the classroom doesn't have to be an actual building. You can teach outside, wherever you are.
That's right.
Start teaching our children the truth, start teaching ourselves. You know, we are always learning, always. You're never too old to learn. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for taking time to write comments. We really appreciate it. Apologies for not reading out all of the comments today, but thank you all so much. Stay safe, stay blessed. Keep feeding on the truth. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. See you all very soon, dear beloved
Inshallah.
family. Assalam.